When it hits the fan, are you ready? Hey, everybody. It's Jake from Tiny Farm. And this week, we're going to walk through a few disaster scenarios for when the poop hits the fan. So it all started when I found my box for the CB radio. And I thought, I should get that out. I should actually see how it works. So I got all the things put together, like we actually bought the antenna and everything. And I've turned it on. And I can turn the channels. Oh. And about all I know is that channel 9 is the emergency channel. That's it. That's it. And that's when it occurred to me, we've got things that we don't know how to use. So in the event of an emergency, how are we going to deal with it? It's about time to take stock. And that's what this episode's all about. So this is where it all is coming together. So for this exercise, I came up with 4 different scenarios. And the first is a natural disaster. The second is World War III. Next up, the dreaded pandemic. And last but not least, an EMP that would take down the grid. Each one of these scenarios presents its own situation that requires specific planning. Do I have proper bug out plans? Do I have the right combination of food, emergency equipment, medication, ability to transport? These are all very important questions, and each one of these scenarios has a different resolution. In the first scenario, we'll take a look at a natural event such as a tornado. That would be very typical in our neck of the woods. In this scenario, a tornado could hit and we could see a significant impact for 6 months to a year to get back to normal. So, do we bug out? Well, that depends on the location of the tornado. Was it a direct hit? We might be directed to a facility by the government agencies that would be sent to help. But in all likelihood, if the house isn't destroyed, we'd sit tight. We just want to make sure that we had fresh food, ability to make fresh water through either bottled water, purification tablets, or life straw. And we'd want to be warm, so that we need a source of heat. Do we still have electricity? And if not, do we have gear to supplement our basic needs and adequate medical supplies? That's pretty grim. Don't tell me it gets any worse. The bombs have gone off. This scenario is about war. Now, on a conservative estimate, I think the duration could be between 1 to 5 years based on previous world wars. So we have to ask ourselves, do we bug out from this location? Well, that's going to depend on where the nuclear fallout is. Can we travel? That'll depend on government contingency plans. Will we have electricity? Again, depends on where those where the largest impact is. The biggest risk, I think, will be ongoing food availability. So you will want to have a lot of canned goods. You will want to have bottled water. But you will especially want to have the thyroid pills to counteract radiation poisoning. Well, that scenario really sucked. I really hope that we never have to deal with anything like that. And it did get worse. It was a worse scenario. But let's take a look at the next scenario, and hopefully it won't be quite so bad. I was wrong. This is probably, in my opinion, the worst scenario. This is the scenario where you don't really have a lot of control. This scenario presents its own issues. If you have to become the V word on this one, then and you decide you're not going to, that presents a whole dilemma between getting adequate services, being able to get access to food, being allowed outside, we just don't know. And we'd seen some of this before, so I'd say that you could expect more of the same. All scenarios have the same theme with regards to keeping adequate food supply, keeping water, the ability to have bottled water or have a fresh source of water, and medication. All of that applies to all scenarios. Our next scenario is the EMP that would take the grid down. Now, a duration could be months to years, depending on the intensity of the EMP, but it could be a lot of years before society is back up and running again. There would be no immediate need to bug out, and you'd want to have adequate supplies of food and water and medications, because there's not going to be any electricity, and you'll need a way to stay warm in cooler weather. Well, as disastrous as that disaster would be, so far it's my favorite disaster. I think there's a likelihood that if you're living in smaller areas like a small city, under 1,000 people, your community could come together and it could actually survive. And it could survive long term without a lot of mediation from other agencies. While they're busy working to put the grid back up, you and your local community would be busy, hopefully, pulling together your resources, growing community gardens, and doing the things that you would do as a team to keep your society running. Of course, there is the alternative. The flip side would be total anarchy, and we know that's no good. To be fair, in all scenarios, there is an element of what will happen to you and the society around you, who will be in control, and how much control will you have. There is going to be a slew of things to consider when you're in these emergency situations. So I would suggest you do your best to be prepared, get the things that you need to get, and be satisfied that you've done the best you can. And give some consideration to a bug out plan. It could be just a source of public property that is somewhere nearby that you can have a small stash of, your immediate needs, and make sure you've got a bug out bag packed. So I bet you're curious to find out, how did I do here? Well, we didn't do terrible, but man, we've got a long way to go. We have some tools and we have resources that I can dig into and learn how to do things on the fly. But it's certainly, I'm no commando, and there's a lot of shortfalls here for me. And this exercise was actually really good. It showed me which pandemic, no, sorry. It showed me which worst case disaster was actually the best worst case disaster. And for me, it is the EMP. Pandemic is by far, for me, the worst case disaster. So, well, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to shore up where we are lacking, and primarily is in knowledge. We don't have a lot of knowledge for some things, like even how to start a fire without tools. Like, what does that look like? We've never done it. I guess we should, right? Um, and then there's other things, just logistically. I keep saying, "Where's our bug out location?" And then it hit me. It's like, I think we're kind of here. Like, we're in a very small town, and I think this would be a good bug out location for us. Um, there were other things like the distance between me and family, because we do have another location, but that is even further away from family. So it's definitely, this is the zone that we would want to be in. Yeah, so I've taken away from this a lot of my own notes, and I hope you all do too. I think it's a good exercise to go through, what do you have? What do you need? What do you feel comfortable in even prepping for? I've talked to some people and they say God will take care of them, and that's okay too. And I've talked to others that say, I don't care. I don't believe any of it's going to happen. I'm fine. And that's okay too. You got to be you, and I got to be me. And I just need to know that I've got some of it covered. And I feel a lot better now knowing what I don't have covered, because now I'll be able to go out and do a lot more in that area, and really hope that if something goes down, I've got the right stuff. I got the right stuff, baby. Yeah. Silly way to end a very serious topic, because believe me, it did get me thinking, and it was pretty scary. So, anyway, I hope you all have a great evening. We'll talk to you soon. If you like this video or the other ones that I've been throwing up there pretty randomly, please like and subscribe. Become one of this tribe. This tribe will survive. Bye for now.